organization communicate effectively with each other. So there's 28% who say that's not favorable. So we've got some work to do. And so some of the things that we're doing currently, and Savannah will be speaking about, is stat team, for instance. So one of the things we have not had is a reward and recognition committee. And so we already have a wonderful team, a group that has really been great at boosting our morale and doing so many things in the organization to help us in that area. Kind of makes sense that we would make that team our reward and recognition committee, right? And so we're moving more towards reward and recognition rather than fundraising. Because one of the things that's been discovered, and Savannah is going to be talking about that, is kind of silly for us to be raising money to, have our own Christmas party, right? That should be something that the hospital supports. And so that's already in play. We also need to do some work with other committees to have our frontline staff involved in committees and bringing on your ideas for things and change. So that's really true employee engagement. So the organization provides career development opportunities. Being a small rural hospital, that can be a little bit of a challenge. However, as I shared in the other forums, one of the things that I want our team to look at is that we're unique because we are a small rural hospital, and so we have opportunities to expand laterally in our positions. So many of you, I'm looking at a lot of you, and you have expanded your career right in your position because you're wearing other hats. You've stepped up and taken on other responsibility. And it's kind of funny because my background has not been in event planning. And so I'm doing a lot of that, and it's been fun, like the leadership development, LDI, spring forums, all of those kinds of things. And so event planning is a big deal. I mean, some people do that for a career.
They make a lot of money.
Exactly. So we don't want anybody leaving Sweeney Community Hospital, okay? We want you guys to stay. We want you to share that ability here. Yeah. And then another opportunity is that the information from this survey will be used to make improvements. So we had some of our team feel that we take these surveys, what are we doing with it? Some people felt like nothing was being done. And so that, again, our senior leadership team management needs to do a better job of getting our frontline staff involved with what's going on. And making improvements with that. So the survey that we are going to be giving this next year, I just want everybody to participate because we are putting things together to make a difference in this organization. Any ideas you have, please share that with your leader, with HR and our management team, because that's how we get feedback. The post-evaluations today, it's very important that we get that feedback. We use that feedback. We bring it before our team and say, hey, here's some areas we need to work on. So I want to thank all of you. This organization cannot be successful without this team. So I want to applaud everyone here for all that you do each day to make this organization successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. It's always fun when I have to go after Becky and then of course Scott, because he gives such great information and things that are very needed for our organization, and then I have to go after that. So yeah. But you'll see how it all ties in. How many of y'all have heard of lean? Everybody, right? At this juncture, everybody should have heard about, at least heard about it, right? Even if you don't know the terminologies. What has your department done for lean? Anybody? Pat?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love it.
We had 2 storage areas that were junk rooms.
Junk rooms, yeah.
Junk rooms, that's the word for it. We've had equipment in there that was no longer in use. We had books piled up in there because one day we may use them. So anyway, we pulled all of that out into the x-ray room, and it looked like a garage sale. We categorized everything and put everything back in, got rid of tons of stuff, so you could actually walk into these storage areas now and find what you're looking for.
Awesome.
And we had the surveyor came out and noticed that our gowns for our patients was not covered. So we had to take them out of the dressing rooms, we put them in the x-ray room, which was 35 feet from the dressing rooms to go get it. So we put the patient in the dressing rooms, had to go get the gown and bring it back. So we bought us a 3-tier little drawer thing, sat it right there by the dressing rooms. So as you take the patient in, you grab a gown and you go. So we saved us, 66 feet every time we had a patient.
Every single patient.
Every patient we had to change.
That's it.
Awesome.
Yes.
That is exactly what we wanted to do. Scott, when about 8 months ago, Scott brought this idea. Scott, do you remember why you brought up the idea of lean?
Sure, yeah, just an opportunity for us to continue to improve and be ready for the new hospital.
Do you remember the linen closet?
Oh,
I think that's where it all spurred.
yeah.
So
it was an interesting process. So we had about $30,000 worth of lost linen charges from Angelica. And when I started digging into it by doing my gimbal walk, walking around the areas where we keep linen, I found a whole room full of linen that had not been set back. And about 40,000 trash can liners that we had on auto order, and they were just storing them. They would come in and they would go away. And I said, well, we don't use 40,000 trash can liners, so yep, had that opportunity to lean that area for sure.
So we started that process about 8 months ago, and that is lean. That's what lean processes are there for. So really, just wanted to give you all a very brief overview of lean. You can't do it in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It took us about 4 hours. Scott sent a group of us to Tennessee to get a very high level training that took us about 4 days. We came back and we took about a 4-hour test. I used every minute of it because I wanted to score really high because that's I'm competitive that way. But realistically telling you, that test was probably the hardest. I mean, I did thesis, I did stood in front of judges and lawyers and presented my thesis. That didn't scare me, but that test did. But so what is lean? A lean is a practice that considers using resources for anything other than the creation of value for the end customer to be wasteful. So working from the perspective of the customer, who it's our patients, right, who consume a product or service, value is defined as any action or process that a customer would be willing to pay for. So a fundamental purpose of lean is to eliminate waste, as Scott was indicating, or any non-value added activities from a process, as Scott was indicating. So focus should be to eliminate waste on a daily, hourly, or minute-by-minute basis. So how many of y'all thought, you don't have to be shy about it, how many of y'all thought it was to eliminate the workforce, lean? I did. When I first heard about lean, it was like, oh, so we're trying to cut the workforce, but that is not the purpose of lean. It is to utilize our workforce more efficiently, right? Like Becky was saying, how many of us have helped out in other departments, right? If you are not utilizing your time properly in your own department, you have gone to another department. I know that Dana does that. I know Savannah does that. I know a lot of us have done that and worn many hats. So lean is based on reducing costs rather than raising prices or reducing services. Really, simply put, for us, lean practices can help reduce frustrations for caregivers, prevent delays and harm for patients, and improve the long-term health for Sweeney Community Hospital. There are 2 tenets to lean. We talked about it throughout this presentation. It's respect for people. That's the number 1 tenet. Okay, and then the second one is continuous process improvement. We've been talking about this since I can only attest to what I've done here. But since I've been here, we've been talking about continuous process improvement, because we cannot just be stagnant and then think that we're at 100% at a metric and then say we're done. Continuous process improvement is what we need to do, right? If we're really scoring high in one metric, move on to concentrate on another possibly process improvement that you can do. So lean, why did it start? Okay, where did it start really? People have been doing lean for thousands of years. Just imagine, this world, how we've evolved. So lean has been a process that we've been doing for a very, very long time. It started in the production lines since the 1400s, but truly focused with Henry Ford in the early 1900s. So Henry Ford actually, I believe it was 1922, he actually introduced the lean process, or wanted to introduce the lean process to the healthcare industry at a hospital in Michigan. So we're talking about Michigan. What is Michigan known for? Auto industry, right? But he felt like that the lean methodologies can be applied to a hospital there. That was 1922. That was 70 years ago. We decided in the 1990s to actually put that into motion. So we're about 70 years behind. But we finally decided to do it. The lean methodology was created from the Toyota production system in Japan and finally brought to the United States in the 90s. So the term lean was coined to describe a system that managed to get to, with half of just about everything: physical space, labor effort, capital investment, and inventory, and fewer defects and safety incidents. So everything that we do, it's about safety, right? So we're looking at 3 different industries here. We're looking at oil and gas, the nuclear industry, and then the aviation industry. What do you think about these 3 industries when you look at them, just by looking at it? They're a highly reliable organization, but they're also a potential for catastrophic events, right? Imagine if something happened, it has happened, but does it happen every day? No, right? So imagine, nuclear industry, one spill, what happens? Could wipe out a community, right? The airline industry, one crash, we're talking about hundreds of lives. So let's look at the airline industry. From 1990 to 2001, there were 9.3 million flights a year. Out of that, 13.9 deaths per million resulted from that. That's a lot of deaths. How many deaths do you think that is? How many incidents? I'm sorry. 130.
Per year.
Right.
Every year for 11 years in a row.
Exactly. So think about that in a hospital setting. Imagine if we had 130 deaths. Let's just think about that. And having to explain to the patient's family members, having to explain, really sit down, the physicians having to sit down, administration having to sit down and speak to these people and telling them and having empathy and saying, you know, we did something wrong here and we're liable for that. It's pretty, the staggering numbers there. So from 2002 to 2010, there were 10 million flights per year. But look at the reduction in the deaths, 1.7 deaths per million. So they're doing something right? Can we take some lessons from that? Absolutely. From 2011 to today, only 1 death. We're talking about us putting our hope, our family, I travel, all of us travel, putting our faith in one person that's driving this metal, big, huge metal structure, and in the hopes of taking us to our destination. It's faith, right? We absolutely just have faith. So that's what a patient, when they walk into this organization, from the moment they walk in, every one of us are involved in that process and ensuring that patient safety should, that in itself, our patient safety should be a priority. In 2016, medical errors were said to be the 3rd leading cause of death in the U.S. 10% of U.S. deaths are due to preventable medical mistakes. It's pretty staggering news. 21% of Americans report personal experience with medical errors. So the public believes errors result from systemic problems and that both healthcare professionals and patients have a role in improving patient safety. Whose the responsibility it is for patient safety? Is it Scott's?
Everyone.
All of us. From top to bottom, every one of us should be involved in patient safety because that's why we're here. Financial impact, in 2008, CMS stopped reimbursing hospitals for costs associated with certain preventable adverse events. So CMS takes this very seriously. So next. So why lean? Why now at Sweeney, right? So lean principles will allow the organization to improve patient safety and quality of care while creating a culture of continuous process improvement. We keep reiterating patient safety and continuous process improvement because that's what we're here for. Sweeney must focus on achieving a positive return on investment by eliminating or at the least minimizing non-value activities throughout the implementation of lean practices. We're building a brand new hospital. We certainly don't want to take the same processes that was created, 65 years ago, right? We want to ensure that we're improving what we're doing now so we can take that practices to the new hospital. We don't want to take any of these old equipment that we have. Everything is going to be brand new, right? Including we need to ensure that we have our processes in place that'll fit what the state mandates and that is federally mandated. Our path to everything here is zero harm. We want to ensure, like Scott was saying, with the left without being seen. So do we want to be at 1.6%? No, right? We want to be at 0%. I don't think we'll see that, but we can. That's our whole process of talking about all this, is to ensure that we continue to improve on it. So our ultimate vision is to become a highly reliable organization. How many of y'all heard what a highly, Savannah just mentioned it. Who are those, remember those 3 highly reliable organizations? The nuclear industry, oil and gas, and aviation, right? So we want to be there. We want to be there. When people look at us, they want to say, Sweeney, like Becky was saying, we've had no adverse incident, I don't know, for how many years now? That's pretty good. That is amazing news. So we want to continue that, because I don't want to go to court. None of us want to go and testify, right? So it is awesome that we can have that statistic.
Yes, that's right, that's right.
That's true. So why are we becoming lean? Because of the R factor, right? Our mission, our vision, our values. So our value states R is do the right thing correctly the first time. That's why we're here, okay? Not doing it right the second or third or fourth time, even though it's continuous process improvement. Our mission is to ensure that we do it right the first time. So you guys all have a sheet of paper with the definitions about lean. Scott was talking about Gemba walk. Anybody heard of Gemba? See, you're beginning to get it, because we did have some training which we'll talk about. But I just wanted to ensure that all of you had these definitions, so when we do begin to use these terminologies and these processes, you're going to say, I heard about it. We heard it in the spring forums. 5S. I know that one of, when I indicated about a group of us going to Tennessee for this training, Lisa was one of them. Brian, what did y'all do for 5S?
Mainly just organizing equipment and some of the TheraBand and things like that, to where they're easier to find. And not taking 2 or 3 minutes to find the next piece of equipment you want to use. It's all put back in the same spot. And
did y'all take a before and after picture?
I don't know about
Yeah, I'm not sure they did either.
That's the first thing you
But
need
it's
to do.
done,
That's
right?
what we failed to do when we did the linen closet. We didn't take it before, because Scott was saying it was disastrous. Pat, did y'all take it before?
Yes.
See, I know Pat would do it.
Lisa Blumer has it.
I'm sure Lisa has done it too. So the 5S, it's a name of a workplace organization method that describes how to organize a workspace for efficiency and effectiveness. So it's sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Okay, so we just don't want to do it one time and be messy a week later. We want to ensure that we sustain it. As I was indicating, these are some of the terminologies: the Gemba, Kanban, Andon, pull and push. You're going to watch a video very shortly. I Love Lucy video that's going to talk about the pull and push system. Mistake proofing, standard work, and Kaizen. So this video, very short clip that you're going to see, it's going to talk about the push system, which is not ideal, which is not what we want to do, but sometimes we feel like this is how our life is. So let me start that.
Oh, they kicked me out of there fast. Why? I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. The 4th department I've been in. Oh, I didn't do so well either.
All right, girls. Now this is your last chance. If one piece of candy gets past you and into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired.
Yes, ma'am.
Hooray!
Boss everybody
Well, this is easy.
We weren't moving that
Yeah,
slow.
we can handle it, don't we?
Yeah, I know.
That's all. I think this.
Uh,
I think we're fighting a losing game.
How many more can she stick in her mouth?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Like, wow.
That's a big mouth.
Still.
Who's the boss? I don't. See this thing 5 times and makes me laugh every time.
Fine, you're doing splendidly. Speed it up a little.
I know, we've seen it so many times, but we laugh every time. And do we feel like that sometimes, like Ethel and yes, Lucy there, and that's Scott coming in the middle and saying, "Oh, you're doing a great job. Speed it up."
go.
Right? Let's go. Let's get some more processes.
Come on,
But
Pat.
the efficient way. Can you go back to Savannah, please? So the optimal way is to pace yourself, right? We cannot rush into things, not with patient care, okay? Because we're talking about patient safety here. So pace of operation is set to the customer's demand. We cannot be what their boss wanted to do. Come on, keep going, keep going. There's going to be a lot of waste there, redundant time and effort, and so that is not optimal. The optimal is the pull system. So what have we done at SCH with the lean process from about 8 months into it now? As I indicated, there were 6 of us that went to lean training. We got certified, but we're continuing to continue our process with that. With the we call ourselves the LIT team, Lean Implementation Team. We conducted it's a brief overview because it's a 1-day training, 1.5-day training. For our leadership team at LDI, but we're going to continue that. Each department is currently engaged in a lean activity, as I was asking a couple of our leaders here what they did. So majority of our departments have decided to do the 5S process. We're going to continue to compile all that information, and we're going to continue to give them the training that they need. The LIT team is going to a group of leaders are going to become Six Sigma Green Belt certified. It is not a karate belt that is specifically for quality and lean folks. As I indicated, we're going to have much more information to come, and I look forward to presenting that to y'all. Remember, lean is a long-term cognitive and a cultural change, as we've been talking about throughout this hour here. A mindset by both an organization and each individual in the organization.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, I'm here to talk to y'all about the STAT team. How many of y'all have heard of the STAT team? Does anyone know what that acronym means?
Start today with a positive.
Start a terrific attitude.
Close.
Terrific attitude.
Start a terrific attitude today. So here you'll see a list of our members. As Becky mentioned, we're moving more towards a committee style, and we're going to focus on employee reward and recognition. Some of the ways that we do that is with the Employee of the Month and Department of the Month. Does anyone know how you can nominate your peer for those accolades?
On the employee.
You go to the blue page, and there's a tab that says Employee Recognition Program, and there's a form there that you can print and fill out, and then there's a little black box in the cafeteria close to where the salad bar is, and you can put it in there. Once a month when we have our meetings, we go through those to choose the winners. We'll also be starting a new program soon you'll see called Cheers from Peers, And we're also actively looking for new ideas. We don't want y'all to feel like you're only being recognized at the end of the year with a Christmas party. So we want to find ways to reward you throughout the year. An important way for your voice to be heard about that are these surveys that are on your chairs. The very last page has to do with the reward and recognition. So it's important that you fill that out, turn this back into HR, and we'll get it to the stat team, and we'll use that as we develop new programs to recognize y'all throughout the year. We also help with the monthly birthday parties, and if there's any retirements, ways that you can help out. We have the Monday morning breakfast, and we always need servers. It's real easy to go online and get a certification for about $10. And we are also asking for some donations right now for Easter themed candies that you can drop off with Melissa Cart. And then I will open it up for Q&A for Scott.
Great, thank you. So hopefully you found the forum to be helpful today. Do you have any questions of me that you thought about through the forum? Any rumors out there? Any other questions I might be able to answer for you about what's going on around the organization? Yeah.
I said stop.
Any questions out there? So if somebody in the community came up to you and said, hey, I hear